Hi everyone, welcome to Books Mandala's YouTube channel. In this channel, we talk about everything and anything related to books. In today's video, I have a very famous popular series which is well loved as well as kind of despised in the book community. So there is a thin line between loving this series and not loving this series, but I personally love this series. I read it years ago, but when I first read it, I loved it so much. A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. So this series is considered young adult. The publishers say that the first book at least is young adult, but I think that this book is leaning more towards new adult, and the last book that was published, A Court of Silver Flames, is an adult series. This series has 5 books so far, and one of them is a novella, and you can technically read this series as a trilogy or even a standalone. You can just read the first book. It does not end in a cliffhanger, but I would not recommend that because the second book is literally the best book of the whole series. It has the best slow burn romance and a really good character arcs and a very lovable found family trope. So the first book of this series is A Court of Thorns and Roses. The second book is A Court of Mist and Fury. The third book is A Court of Wings and Ruins. So you can technically stop reading this series altogether after finishing A Court of Wings and Ruin. The fourth book, which is a novella, is A Court of Frost and Starlight. This book is really very thin and it does not add much to the story. It is just for fun purposes. Finally, the recent book, which was published just a year ago, I guess, is A Court of Silver Flame. So you've probably noticed how the name of the title and the cover art and everything changes in A Court of Silver Flames. So this was done to make readers aware that this book is an adult book and the story follows a different main character. So in A Court of Thorns and Roses and the 3 books that follow this book, it follows our main character Feyre, but A Court of Silver Flames follows Nesta, who is Feyre's oldest sister. So speaking about this series in general, A Court of Thorns and Roses is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. So if you love Beauty and the Beast stories and retellings, you will absolutely love this book. The second book is considered Hades and Persephone retelling, so you can definitely see the enemies to lovers arc, and it is executed really well. So the first book follows Feyre, who is the youngest of the Argyran sisters. Feyre lives with her disabled father and her 2 older sisters, but despite being the youngest of the 3, she does most of the work in the family. She takes care of the family. She goes to hunt for food. Nesta and Elaine, who are Feyre's 2 older sisters, they're very lazy and they do not care about life in general. Feyre and her family are very poor. Once upon a time they were rich, but something happened and now they're really poor, and Feyre has to do literally everything for the family, for the 2 girls that are her older sisters, because her father is disabled, and Nesta, who is Feyre's oldest sister, is really mean. She's portrayed as a very arrogant and stubborn character in this book. In general, she is a very stubborn and mean character in general, but while reading the first book, you will come to absolutely despise her because her character is not lovable, very unlikable. This book is obviously about fairies, and the world is divided into into fairyland and mortal land. So Feyre and her family, they obviously live in the mortal land because Feyre and her sister and her father, they're human. There is a wall that is separating the Pythian, which is considered the Fae realm, and mortal land where Feyre's village lies. So fairies are absolutely despised by mortals. The mortals hate fairies a lot and vice versa. One day Feyre, our main character, she goes to the woods to hunt. So mind you, this wood is near the wall separating mortal land and fairyland, right? And she sees this wolf and she's instantly like, this wolf is a fairy. So she takes out her special arrow that can kill fairy and she shoots this wolf and kills him and takes the deer that the wolf was hunting beforehand back to her house to eat, obviously. And while they were eating, after a few days during night, a beast, Beauty and the Beast, a beast basically comes to Feyre's house and demands, like, who killed my friend? Who killed that wolf? You're not supposed to kill fairies, remember? How dare you kill my friend? And stuff like that. And Feyre and her sisters are obviously very scared. Feyre is obviously scared. She did not expect things to escalate this quickly. Then the beast, whose name we figure out is Tamlin, strikes up a deal. He's like, whoever killed the wolf, aka my friend, has to come and live with me in the fairy. So Feyre goes along with Tamlin to live in the spring court, and she's very shocked to see a very big mansion, and she assumes that Tamlin is a very powerful person, which we figure out is pretty true. There we meet another character. His name is Lucien and he is Tamlin's friend and advisor. Lucien is a very, very lovable character. He is literally one of the best character of this this first book. So the beast form that we previously see is Tamlin's animal form, but he then shifts back to his fae form, and we realize that Lucien and Tamlin, they're both wearing this mask and they cannot remove this mask. Tamlin is basically like, there's this blight, and because of the blight we cannot take off our mask, and there is a whole curse that is spreading in the fairyland. After a while, Feyre slowly starts to fall in love with Tamlin. Tamlin takes her places to see in the spring court, and Feyre is so fascinated by the spring court's beauty. And Feyre is like, I need to do something or the other to help Tamlin and Lucien. She grows very familiar and close with Tamlin and Lucien. One day, something big happens and a very big problem strikes up, and Tamlin sends Feyre back to the mortal realms to protect her. And Feyre goes back to the mortal land, but she does not want to go because she's already fallen in love with Tamlin. I think that is it, because anything else would be spoilers. So you should definitely check out this series. It is a really, really interesting series. It is a really good fantasy romance. So like, go into this series expecting romance, but to find out if Feyre will return to Faerie to help Tamlin and the fairies, or if she will prefer to stay in the mortal realms, what will happen to Tamlin, what will happen to Lucien. You should definitely read this book and this whole series in general. Please read the second book.